Alright, what up, y'all? So, back. I didn't do any work yesterday, I guess. So, we back today. Doors are ready for the fiberglass, or the resin. So, just got a little quarter resin or whatever. I think I got this from Home Depot or something a while back. But, comes with the hardener, all of that. So, 10 drops of hardener for every ounce of resin you put in. This, if you fill it all the way up, this can hold about 4 ounces. So it's gonna be 40 drops in here. Got some paintbrushes, so gonna mix all of this up and brush it on with this, and then we're gonna let it dry. And depending on how long it takes, which it'll probably be the rest of this afternoon, so I'll come back tomorrow and trim everything off, all the excess. I'm just gonna use a Dremel and cut everything right past those staples, and that'll get all the excess off, and then it'll be time to actually do the fiberglass mat, and we got a lot more resin to go with that. So here we go. All right, so I got both doors covered in resin. I think this is, I tried to keep count, kind of forgot a little bit, but I think this is about 9 to 10 ounces for each door. About 9 to 10 ounces of resin for each door. So put a little weight on this little piece right here, because what I'm going to do is, since this is so heavy and the armrest part is gone where the actual screws were, only thing that's going to be holding this in is the top right there, and then the little push pins that go all the way around. So I figure I'll probably cut this section out, that way you can still use the bolt that, or the screw or whatever that comes with this one, and I can screw the door panel to the door, so that'll hold everything still. So this will dry by the end of the night, and I can get back to this tomorrow. All right, so it's fairly dry. It's cold right now for whatever reason, kind of cooled off a lot, but it's pretty much dry. So, you know, from what you can tell in the video, it's pretty sturdy. So not sturdy enough to where you can just leave with it, but it's good enough to where I can start actually putting the resin, the mat on here. So I'm gonna let this dry overnight, and I'll be back probably in the morning to go ahead and trim all the excess fabric off, and then it'll be time to start with the mat. All right, so I'm back. It's the next day. Everything is dry except for one spot over here, which apparently the mix wasn't right, so I ended up mixing just a little bit more, put some on that part, and a little bit here where it was still kind of soft. So I got to get that time to dry. Should be good this time. I don't know what happened. I guess I got to a bad spot in my last mix where the hardener didn't mix in all the way. But anyway, letting that dry. This one is good to go. So got my Dremel. So today we are cutting all of this excess fabric off on the outer edge and inside of the screen hole. So go ahead and get that cut out. By the time this dries, I'll come back, cut all of that out. And if the weather warms up a little bit and this misty rain goes away, I can sit them out and start putting some mat on there. So hopefully it clears up. But let's get to cutting. All right, so everything is cut out. All my edges pretty decent. And once I start laying the mat, I'm gonna overlap it onto this edge too. So that should fix whatever transition you might get from the fabric going into the next piece. Sand it down a little bit, and then once you start doing your mat, it should all be one layer. But since another thing is, since this is stapled on, once the glass is hard, you don't have to worry about anything coming loose because all your staples are in, and I got all of the staples bent down, so the whole fiberglass piece is pretty much anchored in place. So even if you got a lot of weight on there, it'll never be enough to where it'll bend these staples back the other way and then let them be able to pull through. So this will pretty much be on there for good, so won't have to worry about anything on that. Some of these edges I'm gonna have to go over them with some sandpaper. I got a sander, so I just sand this down just a little bit so it'll get back to that beveled edge that I had before. But other than that, this is ready for glass. And still gotta do this one, but you know, this will probably be another hour or so. Whenever it dries and it's good enough to touch, I do the same process, get this cut, and then I bring y'all back once it's ready for the glass.